It's genuinely a privilege to be here. I have to say that I hate Dominic Frisby because he's ruined my speech, as you will find out as I read it out to you. Why? But wasn't he brilliant? The other thing that I'm slightly nervous about that I have to warn you about is I'm about to shift the mood because everybody's been talking about courage and I'm going to talk about cowardice. Last week, Oxford professors revealed that their students are too scared of negative reactions from their peers to speak their minds in seminars. Sorry. It's tempting to mock this as an example of Generation Snowflake. If privileged students are frightened to talk about novels and archaeology in the cosy ivory tower tutorials, it's unlikely they're going to lead storming the barricades, speaking truth to power. But before we get a bit smug about wimpy Gen Z, if we're honest, then many of us grown-ups also bite our lips these days and self-censor. Take tonight. Alan said to me, "Come and speak at our Together anniversary," he said. "It's on the theme of courage and free speech. I mean, what's not to like? I imagine myself giving a rousing call to arms speech. But let me tell you, I'm actually not feeling so brave here tonight, because speaking freely and frankly is actually quite nerve-wracking these days. It's so easy to misspeak, to use an ill-chosen word, say the wrong thing. And not only will people say I find that offensive, in these febrile times, with a vogue for public shaming, you can be ostracized from public life by an edited clip on X, be labeled a bigot for a clumsy verbal mistake, lose your livelihood for others willfully misreading your good faith opinions. And worse, as is obvious from the post-riots period, it's not even an exaggeration to say you could end up in court or jail for expressing what others dub hateful or misinformation. The policing of what we say creeps into everyday life, into workplaces, when we go to the doctors, pick up the kids from school. So many institutions now have prescriptive language codes. You dread being asked that infamous pronouns question by people wearing rainbow lanyards. You kind of sort of half mutter, she, her. What you should say is, I'm obviously an adult human female, you numpty. But the truth is, I might say that here, but would I say it to HR? Weak gammon, turfs, deplorables don't stand a chance of getting through a sentence without being reprimanded for misspeaking. Back at the Lords after the summer recess, we all got a welcome letter from the new government and the whips. How lovely, I thought, except it was more like a passive-aggressive warning. So to quote it, it said, "As the House considers and debates some of the difficult issues that the country faces, it's especially important that debate does not descend into vitriol, use of false facts, or the use of rhetoric designed to offend and inflame." So what? When the government announces they're scrapping the winter fuel allowance based on fake black hole facts, or Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary, tears up the democratic past Higher Education Free Speech Act, calling it a hate charter, aren't we allowed to vitriolically condemn them? Are we meant to smile sweetly and nod in case anyone is offended? What's frustrating about this sanitizing and policing of our speech is that language and words, the very weapons that we need in the battle of ideas, are turned against us and used to shoot the messenger. No wonder it's easy to become tongue-tied, never mind walking on eggshells. It's like talking on eggshells. Then there's the bastardization of words used to demonize anyone who won't be compelled into conformity, with growing numbers promiscuously labeled far-right, Nazi, racist. And the problem here is that we lose control over the specific meaning of these words. They become cheapened and trivialized, and the words lose their power to shock and describe. Recently, we heard that libraries across Labour-run Wales, that, by the way, are facing swinging cuts and possible closure, are sending staff on expensive critical whiteness studies courses, and there's an elaborate, detailed, colour-coded manual of racist buildings that librarians should avoid meeting in. It's beyond satire. The problem is that there are real racists and white ethno-nationalists and a small and nasty current of far-right groups, all who malignly disparage people based on their skin colour and ethnicity. And I want to be able to call them out and say that is racist, etc. But if the word is inappropriately used to stigmatise everyone from people condemning grooming gangs to Welsh librarians, then I'm denied the ability to name and shame. Robbing us of these words is another form of censorship. In one recent case, we've got the bizarre dispute amongst media, political and legal class about whether calling a black person a coconut was a racial slur. And just in case you're interested, of course it was a racist slur. Black on the outside, white on the inside, implied race traitor, tamely dancing to their white master's tune. Yuck, that is a racial slur. But the reason it made the headlines was when Maria Hussein was up in court for carrying a placard depicting Suella Braverman and Rishi Sunak as coconuts. She was found not guilty of a racially aggravated offence, and we free speechers should have cheered. Instead, too many were outraged and demanded that she was jailed. Yes, it might have been a racial slur, but no, I don't want people to be sent to jail because of their vile views. Some even celebrated when Hussein's supporter, Kahinda Andrews, a professor of black studies, faced a mob-handed visit at home by the West Midlands Police. His crime was labelling someone that many of us know a house Negro on X. Obviously, that's vile, yuck. But when I objected to him being visited by the police, lots of people I know turned on me and they said, it's time to stand up for ourselves, to stop cowering, to show courage and be brave. And that's why I raise it. Because yes, I get the frustration of two-tier justice and how galling it is to hear Hussein and Andrew's supporters, usually so keen on using cancel culture, suddenly claiming the protection of free speech for their own obnoxious abuse. But however infuriating it is to be gaslit by so-called anti-racists, and by the way, that's another word that's been corrupted and stolen from us, but however infuriating it is, we shouldn't stoop to their tactics. We rightly condemn identitarian social justice warriors or the police, often interchangeable, for scouring social media looking for transgressors to round up and prosecute. But it isn't brave to do the same thing and demand our opponents are arrested or sacked for speech crimes. Don't let us turn into snitches. The very freedom that is so precious for all of us here tonight is only meaningful if it's extended to everyone, including those whose toxic worldview we despise, who'd have us locked up, but who cares, we're better than them. Real free... My last point. Real free speech bravery is holding our nerve. It's reclaiming our language. It's exposing double standards. It's booking Dominic Frisby so that he can laugh at them. It's arguing against bad ideas. The only way to win this battle of ideas is through more and better speech, and we should never, ever resort to their tactics or our own brand of censorship. That's real cowardice, and to be honest, we need to be braver and better than that. Thank you very much.